Today we're going to be discussing 8 US foods that are banned in other countries. Hi, I'm Carmen V. Luciano and this is the Miscellaneous Vegan, where I share a little R&R, recipes, and reviews. So these 8 US foods that are banned in other countries was specifically gathered from the video that I'm going to link below from Dr. Bobby Price. I'm placing them in an order of my specific preference of importance. Just a quick note, if you know anyone that only speaks Spanish and does not understand English, I am going to be translating this video and posting it on Tuesdays. So let's get into the 8 US foods that are banned in other countries. So number 8, farm-raised fish and salmon. These fish are fed a chemical soup, as Dr. Bobby Price mentioned, with antibiotics, dioxamine, and a whole bunch of other chemicals that are obviously not good for the fish and not good for you. And if you think if you buy wild caught that you'll be doing yourself a service, you're really not, because at this point you don't know what you're eating that comes out of the sea. And I would suggest for you to see this documentary that's available on Netflix that gives you more details about the food that you eat that comes out of the sea. So let's move on to number 7. The 7th food that is banned in other countries and not here in the US is maraschino cherries. So these cherries are the ones that you see on top of your cakes, in your pina coladas, in your drinks when you go to the bar, on your ice cream sundaes. So they are extremely red, and cherries are not normally that bright red. And the reason that they're so red is because they have that red dye number 40, which is very toxins for your body. Dr. Bobby Price goes into detail about every toxin and what it does to your body. So if you want to watch that video, I'm going to link it below. But just note that those cherries should not be in your pantry. Moving on to number 6. The 6th food that is banned in other countries and not in the US is packaged ground beef. Dr. Bobby Price mentions that the packaged ground beef is filled with something called pink slime. So that right there, just hearing that should be enough for you to not want to purchase that, but it's pink slime and other things that shouldn't be in your ground beef. The FDA approves a certain amount of feces to be passed through. For those people that eat ground beef, you have to cook at a certain temperature to kill off the E. coli and every other bacteria that it might have. Moving on to number 5. So the 5th food that is banned in other countries but not here in the US is corn. So Dr. Bobby Price mentions that 90 to 98% of the US corn is genetically modified. 90 to 98% is genetically modified here in the US. So you're going to want to get your corn that comes from another country or just remove corn from your diet. So moving on to the 4th food that is banned in other countries but not here in the US is Gatorade and other citrus sodas. So the reason these items are banned is because it contains BVO, which is brominated vegetable oil, and it's very toxic for your health. Moving on to the 3rd food that is banned in other countries and not here in the US is US pork. So pigs eat anything you give them, and they are given chemicals that is extremely dangerous to them and extremely dangerous for us if you eat it. And just note that the US pork is banned in 160 countries. 160 countries. So that is a lot of places that do not want to have US pork in their country. Okay, so moving on to number 2. The 2nd food that is banned in other countries but not here in the US, and I feel like this item is very important on the level because we feed it to our children, which is cereal. Cereals such as Fruit Loop, which has an ingredient yellow number 5, toxin for you. Cheerios, Frosted Flakes, Honey Bunches of Oats. The list goes on of the toxic chemicals that are in the cereal that we feed our children. And moving on to the number 1 food that is banned in other countries and not here in the US is milk. So you feed your children cereal and the vast majority adds milk to the cereal. Not my son, because he really loved his cereal just without milk. It's a staple in all Americans' breakfast, lunch, or dinner. The cows are given a growth hormone, and all the hormones and the antibiotics that they give the cows goes into the milk. So that goes into your children. And that is the reason the numbers are rising with autism, child diabetes, learning disabilities. There's so many reasons why most of your children are sick, and a lot of it leads to the milk that they're intaking. So those are the 8 US foods that are banned in other countries, and in the order of my preference of importance. Comment down below if you would like me to translate some of these videos. I know I got a request for one of my other videos, and I'll be translating that video for next week. So please let me know, because English is my first language. I am a bilingual teacher, but I teach English and other subjects to Spanish speakers, meaning that I need to know the Spanish to help them translate it into their English. My Spanish is not perfect. In saying that, make sure you tune in for next week's video, and always remember, sweeties, be real, not perfect. Bye.